Hi, welcome to what we're calling Easter Markup. It is a countdown, if you will, that takes us toward Easter. And so you're watching this would be day one or Monday as we kind of count down toward Easter Sunday. We're calling it Easter Markup because I'm going to share with you an idea or a thought that we find actually in the book of Mark. And as we look at those passages, I just want to share with you a few thoughts about Easter. Nothing that you probably haven't heard before, but just something to kind of keep your mind moving in the right direction as you get ready to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus once again. And so I'll read you about Mark chapter 14, verse 12, when it says this. On the first day of the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, when it was customary to sacrifice the Passover lamb, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to go and make preparations for you to eat the Passover?" Now this is what is setting up what we know as that Last Supper. Okay? In verse 13, it says this. So he sent two of his disciples, telling them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. Say to the owner of the house he enters, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you. And make a large upper room, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." And then verse 16, it says this. The disciples left, went into the city, and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. Those verses set up what we know to be the Lord's Supper. And you're familiar with that. You're familiar probably with what happened at the Lord's Supper. But sometimes we're not as familiar, or we don't remember this little bit that Mark gives us, this little snapshot. What I think is interesting about it is that, and one of the things I've loved, and I've used this passage for years in talking about different things, about how we're supposed to be obedient, be a follower of Jesus. It's lost somewhere in the passage when Jesus tells the disciples to go into the city and find a man carrying a water jar. Some passages say a water jar on his head. Now what you might not know, or what you might know about the first century, is that the duty of carrying water around the city in jars, or going to fetch water and bring it back home, or going to the well to get water for your household, that was not the work that would commonly be done by a man. Matter of fact, that was considered woman's work, and that's why Jesus, in his encounter at Sychar at the well, meets this woman at the well, because that's where the women would come to get water. So Jesus asked his disciples to go into the city and look for a guy who was doing something that is very uncharacteristic for a guy to do. Carry the water around. And when they find him, they ask him, and he takes him to the upper room, and that's the place at the upper room the Lord's Supper is going to take place. I think it was Ken Smith that once taught this passage as I was a kid, and I remember hearing him say it, and it's something I kind of locked onto ever since. He said, "The one who's being most faithful in the passage is that cat that's carrying the water jar on his head." Matter of fact, he is a member of the Royal Order of the Water Jar Carriers. In other words, how in the world did this guy get up that day and decide, you know what, I need to walk around the city with a water jar on my head till someone asks me where to go so I can take them to the place to show them where to have what ultimately is going to be the Passover meal. There was a whole backstory to what this guy was doing, why he was out there carrying the water around, and how he recognized the disciples, why he was willing to take them where he did, and do all the things he needed to do, but that was his part of the plan. Here's what I would share with you on this first day as we count down toward Easter. We all have a part of the plan. Easter is a reminder that God is about doing something that's far bigger than we are, and we all have a part to play in that. Just like he had to go to the cross, and we had a part in that, we also have now a part in sharing the Easter message. This water jar carrier's faithfulness sets him apart by him doing something that is very uncharacteristic in Scripture, yet at the same time, something that was very important. We don't know who he was. We don't see him again in Scripture. He doesn't show up carrying a water jar somewhere else. It's not like an episode of Where's Waldo. It's just simply he's gone. But whatever his part was, he did it, and he got them where they needed to go, and he was obedient. As we get ready to celebrate Easter, remember to be obedient. Be willing to do your part, big or small, no matter what it is. Be willing to be faithful to God. And the big things, and little things. And as we get ready for Easter, you can mark it down. He will take it and He'll bless it. Look forward to counting down Easter with you, and I'll join you tomorrow.